Good evening. It's 6 o'clock on Thursday, September 29th, 2016. Welcome and thank you for joining us tonight for the English edition of Aura News, where we bring you today's top stories translated into English every weeknight. The law on waste importing sparked a great deal of debate and personal accusations between the majority and opposition MPs in today's plenary session. The Democratic Party asked for its referendum request to be included in today's agenda. The Democratic Party has presented Parliament with a request for holding a referendum. We are asking for the referendum issue to be included in today's plenary session agenda. The Democratic Party thinks that importing waste into Albania violates public interest and allows this activity to be used by international criminal groups of waste import. The law conflicts with the sustainable development of our country. Public opinion is expressly against the law. The collection of 64,000 signatures from a referendum against the law shows perfectly that the people reject the law. The waste issue is no longer in the Parliament or government's will, but in the citizens' will. Only the people can make a decision about the issue, declared the chairman for the Democratic Parliamentary Group. But the Democrats' request was rejected by the majority, who stated that a referendum should first be discussed at the Conference of Chairmen. Defending the waste law, the chairman of the Socialist Party Parliamentary Group declared that the referendum is not an emergency. You talk about waste at a time when we adopted a law on raw materials. The law does not allow importing waste for burning or burying. It only allows for recycling. The law determines the points where raw materials can enter Albania, and the human sources are standardized by the EU. You are talking about two completely different things. If you want to hold a referendum, you should ask for it according to the law. The law on waste improves the environment, not destroys it, said the chairman of the Socialist Parliamentary Group. Prime Minister Edi Rama and former Prime Minister Salih Berisha also exchanged accusations regarding the waste law. Prime Minister Rama assured that there is no reason to worry about waste import and had this to say to the opposition. You seem to be unable to make the difference between waste and garbage. First, the new law does not allow waste import but raw materials import. Second, the new law does not allow burning or burying of imported waste. Third, it does not allow companies to get a license if they do not have a factory for processing waste. Fourth, it stops factories from importing more waste than its processing capacity. Fifth, the new law comes at a time when the non-recycling company has used all its capacities to collect more waste in the country, declared Prime Minister Rama, adding that the new law will boost the recycling industry, which he says was on the verge of bankruptcy. The former Prime Minister rebutted that the law was passed for mafia purposes and alleged that the Prime Minister is being controlled by the mafia. The former Prime Minister admitted for the first time that he should not have adopted the waste law in 2011. Mr. Berisha explains that he has reflected with understanding that Albania cannot control waste quality. I have reflected on my past decision for importing waste. I am against waste importing. I reflected because wastes are poisonous, declared Berisha, calling on the citizens to use every means to repeal the law. The former Prime Minister offered the opposition's support to the citizens in their protest against the waste law. Starting today, Tirana will begin to separate waste by source materials. This will be achieved through the installation of modern containers divided by categories of waste. The new waste management was made possible by a memorandum between the municipality of Tirana and that of Verona, signed by both mayors. Starting today, we have an active company. Half of the company is owned by the city of Verona and half is owned by the municipality of Tirana. Let's start the project in Tirana. For the first time, we will introduce the concept of waste separated by source. We will invest in new containers, in modern equipment, and qualified staff, declared Tirana's mayor. We are proud that Verona, together with Tirana, can together improve conditions and quality of Albanian lives, declared Verona's mayor. To Prime Minister Edi Rama, who was present at the signing of the memorandum, the agreement is evidence that the government puts the national interest first. Today, we are still in the midst of a heated debate about recycling, so it is time to give a strong example that we support the green recycling industry for national interests. In addition, we also need to develop the transformation of citizens into partners of the activity, said Prime Minister Rama. Meanwhile, the Italian ambassador, Alberto Cotillo, said that this agreement is an added value in economic relations between the two countries, saying, "This evening marks another significant development in relations between Italy and Albania." As the electoral reform is being discussed, the Central Election Commission's chairwoman believes it may be too difficult to realize the reform by December. The electoral reform is a reform which, from a technical view, needs time. Technical groups need to be set up, and stakeholders should be asked about the reform, the chairwoman said. She asked Parliament to review the decriminalization law within the framework of the reform. The decriminalization law has some problems, and it should be urgently reviewed. I am asking Parliament to review the law for as long as we are discussing the electoral reform, she said. Meanwhile, political analyst Krasniqi thinks that the decriminalization law is not being implemented. There are some international reports which say that the decriminalization law is showing its effects. I have waited for a preventative effect of the new law, but I think it has not functioned yet, he said. During the meeting, several politicians with criminal records were highlighted as having continued with their duties despite the decriminalization law being in effect. Yesterday, the Prosecutor General suspended a prosecutor of Tirana's prosecution after a video shown on an investigative program. In the video, an officer of the Judicial Police collected bribe money in the amount of 18,000 euros on behalf of the prosecutor. The bribe was given to unblock 120 million euros, which had been deposited from abroad. The money, now released, had been blocked by the economic anti-crime structure, and the case had been taken to the prosecution. The prosecutor investigating the case, has been suspended yesterday, was offered the bribe by the citizen shown in the video, who was giving the bribe money to the judicial officer to give to the prosecutor. Today, the prosecution of serious crimes launched an investigation into the case, interrogating the suspended prosecutor, who has declared his innocence, claiming that he was not involved in the corruptive affair and expressed his willingness to be investigated until the truth is found. The prosecution of serious crimes sees the video publicized in the investigative program and will investigate who signed the order to unblock the 120 million euros. Meanwhile, the judicial officer escaped immediately after the video was made public. On the second day of his visit to Albania, the United Kingdom Secretary of Defense, Michael Fallon, accompanied by the Albanian Minister of Defense, inspected the Albanian and British troops which are taking part in the multinational military training tagged Joint Effort 16. The training, one of the largest of its kind, is being held at the military polygon of Biza, about 50 kilometers from Tirana. During this inspection, the Minister and Secretary Fallon watched the troops participating in the Joint Effort 16, who demonstrated some of the scenarios of their training. Defense Secretary Fallon appreciated the importance of this training for the armed forces of both countries within the Very High Readiness Joint Task Force, which will be under the command of the United Kingdom next year. The Very High Readiness Joint Task Force consists of about 5,000 troops from every country of the alliance, and Albania has a platoon in the task force, ready to be deployed at a moment's notice. For her part, the Albanian Minister of Defense was pleased about the cooperation that these trainings give to our armed forces and that our troops are being trained by allied forces. Secretary Fallon praised the Biza training area as a very good training space, which he said gives us the opportunity to be trained with an important ally. The Albanian Minister of Defense said that Albania is taking the right steps to transform the training area of Biza into a permanent region for training the alliance troops, which, according to her, will bring benefits not only to our armed forces, but also to the community through investments. The training, Joint Effort 16, took place in our country between September 19th and 29th of this year. Around 1,500 troops from Albania, Kosovo, the UK, USA, Italy, and Montenegro all participated in the training. That's all for our English edition this evening. Please join us again Monday through Saturday at 6 p.m. for your local news in English. My name is Mari, and on behalf of Aura News, thank you and good night.